So today we're going to talk about how to loosen up a stiff lower back in the morning. We're going to go into some of the causes of stiffness, why it happens in the morning, as well as some exercises that not only will help you in the morning, but also help solve the stiffness so it doesn't happen in the morning. Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm with Empower Physical Therapy, and we help clients every day avoid surgery, injections, and medications while getting their life back. People come to us after seeing 5, 6, 7, 8 different healthcare providers before coming to us and finding the solution. So make sure you subscribe to our content, as we are putting out a lot every day and every week. So let's get into why we get stiff in the morning. So what happens is when we're lying down and we're sleeping, we're not moving. And our joints, we always say motion is lotion. Our joints like to move. And as we start moving, things start to not be as stiff and we start feeling better throughout the day. Very, very, very common. But what are the causes of that stiffness? So there's 2 main causes, and the biggest one is joints. When the joints don't move, then our body will be very stiff. And so in order to reduce some of that stiffness, we've got to get those joints to move, and we see it all the time. We're able to help with that, and we're going to show you some exercises that will help with that. A lot of times when the joints don't move, then the muscles will tense up and protect. And so we feel like it's a muscle problem, like, oh, we'll just go and release the muscles, but it just comes back again because we're not going and getting to the root cause of the problem, which is the joints not moving. Now, the biggest thing with joints is we ask a lot of questions on what makes things better, what makes things worse, what are positions that you can get into that make us feel better. So if you're doing something repeated, like I had a person that was doing jiu-jitsu. I can't even say the name, but you get the point. And they're always literally like on the ground, and their toes are like this. And so what they do is their toes are foist like this, and they have to get a lot of power to come out of it to be able to move themselves forward. And so he was like, I'm having a lot of toe issues. So if we think of like, oh gosh, if I'm always moving in this direction, we need to move the joints into the opposite direction. And so I told him to take your toes and really point them and really stretch the other direction. And he came and told me, oh my God, this was like a game changer. I'm like, I know. I go, it's a joint. And if we're repeatedly putting it to an in range or to it's the same position over and over and over again, this creates problems in the joints, and it creates stiffness. So same thing happens with the back. So what are the things that you do that make it worse? Well, a lot of times people will say, like, the sitting makes it worse. When I bend, it makes it worse. Like, what do we do throughout the day all the time, especially as we get older? We're sitting, we're always bending, we're cleaning. We're never reversing that direction. And so our joints then will start getting stiff because they've always been moved into this one direction, this one pathway. And it creates problems. And so that's how the joints can get stiff and creating a lot of problems. So we've got to reverse that direction. And so I'm going to show you an exercise at the end. So make sure you stay to the end to help reverse that direction. Because for the most part, and with backs, most people, it's because they're bending and they're sitting and they're always in that kind of position that creates some of the problems. Now, the other thing that can also create some of the stiffness are muscle tightness. So there are times, not as much in the back, but it can happen in the back. You can have things that have, kind of scarred down or stopped healing that are causing a lot of the problems, because every time you move and you move in that area, it just gives you a lot of pulling on those bones, creating a lot of stiffness and tightness and some inflammation. We see this all the time with knees, but we do have cases in the back where this is a problem, and so you've got to address that. And there's a lot of different ways that we address that. We can do a lot of deep tissue type things, as well as getting the joints to move to help improve that. Once we see, oh wow, this is not a joint issue, it's more of a soft tissue issue. We also use shockwave therapy that helps really, especially with tissue that's become more degenerative, scarred down, adhesions, those kind of things, because it can knock it out like that to give people some really quick results. So that's a way that we can help improve that stiffness and the mobility, is by doing some shockwave therapy. But those are the 2 ways that we feel stiffness, and you've got to get to the root cause of that. Now, in the morning, we haven't resolved that stiffness. What are some things that you can do right now that's going to improve your ability to feel better in the morning and get moving? So let's show you what that exercise looks like. So we'll lie on our back. So we've been lying on our back from sleeping. And what you're gonna do is we just wanna start moving, because motion is lotion. So you're gonna bring one leg up and then you're gonna bring the other leg up. And what you're going to do is you're just going to slightly kind of move things side to side. Don't go in big motions, just kind of moving and rocking rhythmically. Rhythmically will help kind of get things moving. The body will kind of slowly start kind of calming down. It won't want to kind of tense up. If you move too fast, the body's going to want to tense up. So you just want to do this rhythmic, slow movement, just trying to get a little bit of movement through there so that you will kind of start loosening up. So you'll do this and just kind of moving side to side. You're going to do it for like a minute or 2 minutes. And that's going to kind of start getting that motion in to help loosen us up. Another thing, just to kind of get the muscles to kind of fire a little bit. Love this exercise. Knee goes up toward the ceiling and you have one leg that's out. And you're kind of doing like a partial bridge, but you're just kind of like rotating a little bit. So you literally just kind of lift up and then just come back down. You don't even have to do it that high. You're just trying to get things to kind of contract with some movement, just to get things kind of warmed up. So you'll just kind of do, 10, 15, 20, and then you'll switch, bring one other leg up and kind of do the same thing on the other side. Doesn't have to be big movement. We're just trying to get things to kind of start moving. As we start moving, then things will kind of really loosen up. So those are 2 things that will help you in the morning when the stiffness is there. But what can you do to help just get rid of the stiffness? Like, you don't even have to worry about doing those 2 exercises. So one thing, again, the main reason the back gets stiff, one of the main reasons, I mean, it's like 90% of the reason why backs get stiff is because the joints don't move. And the joints are super stiff, so it's not like, people can go to a chiropractor, they try to get a pop. They have a hard time getting a pop because the joints are that stiff. You've got to really stretch those joints, and that's what we're going to show you how to do. So to kind of reduce that stiffness in the morning, we've got to get those joints moving, and a great way is using a towel, rolling it up. And what you're going to do is you're going to place it on the bottom part, like tailbone, and then you just kind of bend backwards and you're just going to kind of arch over the towel. This really helps to open up those joints, stretching them in the opposite direction. They are usually so stiff that you have to do something with a prolonged kind of stretch to get the results that you need to get. Now, if this towel roll is too much, this is a pretty firm table, so if you have something firm, you might have to have a towel roll a little bit smaller. The bed's going to be a lot softer. You're probably going to have something that is a little bit bigger because of the softness of the bed. But you're literally just going to lie and stretch your joints back here. You can keep the knees bent. You can also do it with the knees that are straight like this. If you don't feel anything, then you need to make the towel roll a little bit bigger, or we need to put it in a slightly different place. It doesn't matter where you put it. It's really like, where do you feel it? Because that's the area that's not moving. If you're feeling it too much, then you need to make the towel roll a little bit smaller. So those are things that you can do. And again, holding it for a minute, 2 minutes. Now, coming out of this, you may be super stiff because you're taking a joint to end range. And when I get up, I'll explain like what happens. But you're going to have to roll over, and you could be like really, really stiff coming up of it. Like, oh my gosh, I barely can move. That's normal. That's okay. Don't freak out. If that's the case, give it about a minute or so and you'll be like, oh, okay, I actually can kind of move. When you have less stiffness, you can lie on this and pop up, no big deal. When you have more stiffness, this is going to be super stiff coming out of it. How I always describe it is like if you hang out with your knee and there's nothing underneath the knee and you're just hanging out with it straight at its end range and you come out of that position if you've been there for a while, it's like, oh man, that's super stiff. But then you kind of get moving and then it's no big deal. Same thing happens with the back. It's no big deal. You're gonna have some stiffness when you come out of it because the joints are super stiff. But the more that we do it, the more you're gonna be able to pop up from this. The easier that it is for you to pop up from this, the less stiffness that you're going to have in the morning. There's a correlation right there. So give these exercises a try and comment below on how it works. Would love to hear how things are going with you, and make sure you stay tuned to our next video, as well as subscribe to our channel as we put out a lot of content and are always trying to find ways to provide education to help you be more educated on what you can do to make a better decision about your health.